Chapter 4 of For Heaven's Sake, Little Talks to Little Folks by Reverend Gerald T. Brennan. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Maria Therese. Chapter 4 A Little Child Shall Lead. This morning I'm going to tell you a true story. After all, true stories are always best. Isn't that right? Sit up straight now and listen. You have all heard about Notre Dame. You have heard about the famous Notre Dame football teams. You have heard about Knute Rockne, the great coach of the Notre Dame football teams. Well, this story took place at Notre Dame, in one of the chapels at Notre Dame. It was First Communion Day at Notre Dame. Several small boys, dressed in white, knelt in the front seats of the chapel. The boys had made their first confessions. In a short time the boys would receive their first Holy Communions. Jesus would come to the boys for the first time. The time came for the boys to go to the altar. The organ played, and the choir sang, "O Lord, I am not worthy." The boys arose. They joined their hands. They left their seats. 2 by 2 the boys walked up the aisle on their way to the altar rail. Every boy except the last boy had a partner. The last boy walked alone. As the last boy walked up the aisle alone, a man left his seat and walked with the boy. It was the boy's father. Of course, everybody knew that the father was not a Catholic. Everybody knew that the father couldn't receive Holy Communion. Now, when the boy noticed his father at his side, he turned and whispered, "Daddy, go back to your seat. Please sit down. You can't go along with me." The father smiled. "It's all right, Junior. Don't worry. It's all right." Well, the procession made its way up the aisle. Junior knelt at the altar rail. His father knelt beside him. One by one, each little boy received Jesus for the first time. Junior should have been happy, but Junior was worried. Junior was worried about his daddy. Just before the priest placed Jesus on Junior's tongue, the little boy turned again to his father. "Daddy, please," he begged, "go back to your seat. You can't receive Holy Communion. You're not a Catholic." The priest heard the little boy. The priest knew that the boy was worried. "Don't worry, Junior," said the priest kindly. "It's all right. I baptized your daddy last night." Yes, Junior and his daddy received their first communions together. But that isn't all. What was the name of the daddy in this story? Can anybody guess? Yes, that's right. It was Knute Rockne, the great football coach of Notre Dame. Knute Rockne had many happy days during his life, but the happiest day of Knute's life was the day when he and Junior received their first Holy Communions. Junior didn't know it, but it was his good example that led his father into the Catholic Church. When Mr. Rockne saw his little boy saying his prayers, going to Mass, getting ready for confession and first Holy Communion, why, he wanted to do the same things. Knute wanted to pray. Knute wanted to go to Mass. Knute wanted to go to confession. Knute wanted to receive Holy Communion. A little boy, by his good actions, led his father to Jesus. You too, boys and girls, can do the same thing. You too can lead other boys and girls to Jesus. How? By your good example. Remember, others are always watching you. If others see you going to Mass, they'll want to go to Mass too. If others see you going to confession, they'll want to go to confession too. If others see you receiving Holy Communion often, they too will receive Holy Communion often. That's what we call good example. You like to do what others do. Isn't that true? Well, others like to do what you do. Others follow your example. Be sure that you lead others to Jesus. You have often heard me say, "Don't go to heaven alone. Take someone with you." Yes, take someone to heaven by your good example. If you show good example, you'll never walk alone. Someone will always want to be your partner. End of Chapter 4